Welcome everybody back. Another Facebook Live. Okay.
I'm Carrie.
We've stopped.
Oh,
Mics are hot. Okay. Carrie K. Taylor, Peter Armstrong. On the money, you're going to be on the show again tonight, right?
I hope so.
I hope so. That's certainly the plan. And we're here to help. We're here to show you and tell you, or you're here to tell me, how to shop better and how to not overspend in the wintertime leading up to Christmas. Because I've got 3 kids, I've got my mom, I've got my sister's kids. I mean, there's a lot of little ones rolling around that you got to buy something for. You want to buy them something good. I inevitably leave it to the last minute, which is probably going to be your first piece of advice for me to fix.
Right.
But let's begin with the big picture.
We're overspenders.
But to what extent? How bad are we in terms of overspending? How big is this problem?
It's a huge problem.
Really?
Yeah, a study just came out last year through RBC and it said Canadians overspent $400
What?
per person.
How do you even quantify that, though? What is my overspending versus what I should be spending?
You know, well, it's a good question. Demographics, right? So men overspend more than women by about $140, and I don't know if it's because you guys are more generous or it's because you're leaving it.
Or because we leave things to the last minute.
Right?
I will guarantee you. My dad gave me great advice when I was out shopping for a Christmas present for like my grade 8 girlfriend.
Oh, wow.
And he said, there's 2 ways of doing this. You can plan this and get something fairly cheap, but that's meaningful, or you can go out on Christmas Eve day and buy something that's going to cost you. And where was I on Christmas Eve day? Walking the mall with my dad, saying, "I'm sorry, I didn't get around to it."
Oh my goodness!
So it's a huge problem. $400 a year.
Yeah, and millennials are the biggest group that overspends as like a group, but boomers spend the most, so they overspend by about $512.
That's a fact.
Now Gen X, I don't know. No one ever includes Generation X in these studies.
They just get ignored. And where does it go? Do we know that?
Where the money?
Yeah.
Like credit cards.
For sure. But no, what are we buying? Are we buying books and clothing? It's probably electronics.
Just electronics. So the biggest thing that we spend money on is electronics and toys. So electronics about $175, and toys we're overspending by about $95. And it doesn't have to be that way. Because our kids just want to play with us, right?
Right. Well, and I mean, I've got young kids. I've got young enough kids that this is my last winter, my last Christmas, where I'm actually going to be able to buy, I could get them a cardboard box and they'd find it hilarious and fun. Next Christmas, I'm going to have to actually sort of give in and get them whatever.
I still find a cardboard box hilarious.
It's a pretty good one. Okay, so that's the lay of the land. We're here to talk about how much we overspend, and as it turns out, it's like $500 a person. $400.
Unless you're a boomer.
Unless you're a boomer. And those darn boomers, they spend more than the rest of us put together. So that's what we're talking about. And Carrie's got great advice, as always. Get in there, write the questions in the comments, and we'll get to them. And as always, throw in whatever you have in mind. If we can answer them, we will. If we can't, we'll tell you that we'll try to get an answer when we get it. Stephanie Lynn Sirois asks, how much is too much per person? And this kind of comes back to what is overspending?
Well, I mean, everyone has their number, right, that they can spend on Christmas.
That you should. Well, isn't that the problem? That you should have a number, and then a lot of us don't, and then you look back on it and say, wow. I spent too much. You
know, I'm not here to tell people how to spend their money or how much they should spend, but know your number, right?
Right. So that involves planning.
Yeah. Well, you got to sit down and know how much you make. So basically, you're overspending if you carried a balance on your credit cards going into the new year. If you carry a balance now. Or if you're just
going into Christmas. That's where people get into big trouble.
Huge trouble.
Is, they went somewhere for Thanksgiving and it cost them a little bit extra. They figure, I'll just carry the balance. And then, the car broke down, they had to get it fixed. And they say, I'll just carry it. And then all of a sudden it's Christmas.
Boom, yeah.
And it's like March by the time you're able to pay it off.
Well, at 19%, I mean, we're all looking at the Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and it's not a deal if you're carrying that on your credit card. And the other time when you should really set yourself a limit is if you're just worried about the holidays. I've had so many emails come in already this week about people just worried they don't know how to talk to their families. Yeah, because they're seeing, oh no, it's the holiday time, I need to buy gifts. And I tell them you don't. There's ways to do this.
So let's get to that. Tina Leibold asks, how can someone save money when you live in the highest tax province, say, in her case, Nova Scotia? What are your tips of staying out of overspending territory?
Yeah, so saving and spending are 2 very different things. I know the banks like to say,
they are.
Spend to save. No, saving is when you put money aside for the long term.
Yeah.
Spending is when the money is gone,
out the door.
Right?
Yeah.
So.
But how, when you say I have to buy something, how can you
cut the cost?
Cut the cost.
So one of my favorite things to do, and we were just talking about this beforehand, is to take the focus away from stuff and to put it on experiences. Because when I look back to all the holidays that I had growing up, the best times we had were tobogganing and hot chocolate. Right?
There's like one or two toys I can remember, but boy, I remember all the experiences.
Yeah, and experiences, I mean, some of them are free, some of them have a cost, right? So as I said, going to the movie theater, that has a cost, but that's a nominal cost. There are discount coupons you can get at big box retailers for Cineplex Odeon, right? And these are a huge, cut of expenses because it includes popcorn and pop and stuff.
Sure.
I'm sending a couple of my girlfriends on a spa day, and again, these are gift certificates, and I'm not roaming around a mall driving myself crazy overspending, right? I have family coming to Toronto next year, and I'm really excited about it. So I'm buying them all city passes.
Genius.
And so I'm going to be paying for their trip to CN Tower
to
and
the Aquata, what's it called?
The Royal Ontario Museum, the Art Gallery, and it's just going to be like a $60 pass, and it's experiences. And while there's a fee associated with that, I've budgeted for that because I know how much the pass costs.
And then your advice on a lot of these things is better communication, period. If you sit down with your family and you come up with, everybody has a budget and a plan, it's easier to stick to a plan you have than one you just sort of loosely have in your head.
Absolutely. I mean, so many emails I've had that have come in have been people basically afraid to talk to their family about this. So, there's all different kinds of financial situations. There's people that are suddenly single because they're getting separated or divorced. Maybe they're solo parents. Maybe they just lost their job. Or maybe one person just emailed and said, you know what, I just want to get a handle on my credit card balance this year and not have to go into more debt, right?
Yeah.
So being responsible, and sit down and have a conversation with a sympathetic ear in the family, someone that has maybe a loud voice in the family even, and say, listen, can we do the holidays differently?
Yeah.
And there's so many different ways to do it. So a big family down the street in rural British Columbia, they're huge. There's like 50 members.
So buying 50 gifts is kind of untenable.
Off the chart, right? So they don't do it. They do a Secret Santa. They all draw a name out of the hat. It's anonymous, so no one knows who bought who what. And it just takes away all the marketing pain and the stress, and you buy one gift and you set a price limit. And there's no reason why you can't do this with your family. You just sit down and talk with them. Or do something fun, like do a $10 Christmas gift every year, or a $5 Christmas. I mean, there's no set amount that you need to spend. But if you have that conversation and set the ground rules, then no one's going to go crazy and have like a competitive Christmas this year.
And practically, Preston Rutten asks, should I use debit or credit cards for gifts?
Wow. So debit, you're paying cash and it's done,
Get it done.
Right?
You don't need to worry about the bill, but...
But, so many people love these loyalty points on their credit cards. And I kind of get I kind of get angry when I see a loyalty program attached to a credit card because it entices us to spend more, right? Because we want to collect the points.
I guess it does.
It totally does. And people kind of lose their mind. And the thing
But if you don't use your loyalty points or your cash back or whatever it is, you've paid for the product. You're essentially leaving money on the table. The rule that I was given is you buy something, you then go online and you pay it down. Pay it down immediately. Then it's like using credit or like using debit, but you get the loyalty points.
Right, and then you're not paying the interest. But the problem is Canadians are carrying a record level of credit card debt. We're carrying close to $4,000 a person.
Seriously?
Yeah. It's
the average
huge.
Credit card balance
is about $3,972. Yeah.
Well, it sort of fits with the question that's just come in from Catherine Reed, who says, how much interest would you pay on let's say in this case, a $2,000 credit card bill with a 20% or 19.9% interest rate if you only make the minimum payment, which is, I don't know, it depends on the thing. Let's say it's $25 a month. You're paying big bucks on a $2,000 bill. Gosh, I don't know what it would be, but it's a couple $100.
It's going to be a couple $100, and it's going to keep compounding, right? So this is the problem with the minimum payment. I mean, you think the banks are really nice by saying, oh, you only have to pay this. But there's been studies that show that when banks don't include a minimum payment, people are more likely to pay off their credit card faster because they don't see the bottom line, right?
Yep.
They add higher. So always aim higher to pay more than the minimum and pay those credit cards off because it's no deal if you're paying 19% interest.
And if you do use your credit card and you get points, isn't Christmas kind of the best time to use those points so you can cut down on costs to get home or go see the grandparents or whatever it may be? If you got to buy a flight, use the points. You can save some dough.
Yeah, I we see what's happening with the Air Miles program, how they're expiring points on people, right?
Yeah.
And then a lot of programs have, reduced the value of points over the years, so you can get less goods for your stuff. So I'm a big fan of, if you have the points and you've paid off your card, use them now. So use them to buy the gifts, use them to pay for travel, use them up or lose them, because you never know in the new year what these loyalty programs will do to you.
You can't quite see it in the frame here, but you brought a pile of stuff, which is, this is a great example of, this is what I love that you do so well, is you go out and do things so I don't have to, but secondhand goods.
Secondhand goods. So many people snub the secondhand economy, and I have no idea why, because the secondhand economy, you can save up to 95% on everything. So I basically have a random trip I did at a local thrift store, and I bought my kids Christmas gifts. So basically apples to apples.
I love that game. I play that with my 6-year-old.
It's so popular. It's like $40, well, $25 in the store, and I got it for $3.99.
$3.99 says it right there.
$3.99, right? This one still is in the wrapper. So this is like a
the night sky projection kit.
I don't know, I'm a science person.
This is like, you can see, you can
Stars.
put it up, what the night sky sort of looks
Again,
like.
$4. Now this is a high quality puzzle. These are really expensive in the store. Again, they're like $25, and I picked it up for $1.99.
$2.
$2. Like, this is 95% savings. So this whole group of course, you got to get your kids something to wear too. I usually buy my daughter, who's 4, secondhand goods. I got this for $3. It was brand new with tags on it. She's worn it a few times now, but that's good. Let's use it up. And this thing, I couldn't believe I found it. It's this Goldie Blocks, like, spinning
This was
tool
a
game.
big deal a couple of Christmases ago.
Yeah.
And it's teaching kids to, hopefully inspiring young girls to go be engineers and stuff.
Hey, I'm into it.
And it's like a $50, $60
Yeah, I know.
thing.
I got it for $1.99, and all the pieces are in there. So
crazy.
So this whole group of stuff I picked up secondhand would have retailed for $150, and I paid $15 for it. Yeah, and it was just a random trip, right? So it's hit or miss. You're not going to find everything you need when you hit a consignment store or thrift store. Go on Facebook Buy and Sell. These are great groups for families to find gear, bicycles.
And there's more and more of them.
Yeah.
And they're like community, a lot of them are really community-based. Speaking of Facebook, get your questions in there. Whether it's about finding secondhand goods or trying to figure out how to budget or whether you should use a credit card or not, there's such fodder in all of this. That you guys should get in. Ask us whatever questions you have, because Carrie's here and I have questions for you.
Okay.
Well, and it's like, when you say talk to your family, come up with a plan, is it about everybody making a list? Is it, like, especially with kids and sort of, nieces and nephews and all that business, is it as simple as that? If everybody has a list, then I've got something I can go off of, get my sisters to get their kids to make a list, and I get my kids to make a list, and everybody shares them?
I think so.
Really?
Just communication, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that where we normally have breakdowns in families?
Just about, yeah.
It's like a lack of communication. And I think if you just sit down and look for a different way to do Christmas, have a potluck. I mean, everyone talks about doing a potluck. It's the best Christmas party ever, because everyone agrees to bring a different dish. And that way, the labor and the expense isn't on the shoulders of one person or one family.
Yeah.
And it's, it's amortized across everyone. And it's more fun that way. It's more communal. So it's like we've got this stuck in our mind, like what the perfect Christmas is, and there's no such thing as perfect.
Yeah. Well, and
under my
and
tree,
to try to find ways to make it's such a stressful time, and no one has any fun anymore.
Yeah.
If you can have some of these conversations early, the actual day of, or Boxing Day with the family, whatever it may be, when you get that sort of bigger getting together, it's always better and more fun if you've worked out all the hard part first. Craig Irving has a question here. It says, consumers can also take advantage of certain credit cards' price protection features if they find the prices dropped, especially during times like these with constantly revolving sales. Is that true?
It is true.
What?
I don't know which credit
card. Where have I been?
Well, and a lot of stores, like electronic stores, have price protections as well. So,
but does it apply to Black Friday or
It
Cyber
depends.
Monday?
Oh, come on. There's always exclusions that apply.
Right.
Like they drive me crazy.
No.
There's no set made that
set.
anyway
but
does
you
it.
Figure it out, and you can probably save a little bit of dough. Always
ask. If you don't ask, you're not going to get the deal. If you open your mouth and ask the question, you're going to be better off than if you just kept your mouth shut.
One of the things is like on software. There's a guy here, Wayne Nellitz, has said, what budgeting software would you suggest so people would be better prepared for Christmas 2017? Are there budgeting softwares? Are there programs out there that can help?
There is. I think one's called Santa's Helper or something. You have to go to your app store, your Android Play, and take a look. Just go holiday budget, and it's going to come up with all these different apps. There's like a ton of them, but you know what? My brain and a piece of paper work really well too, because I write a person's name, I put the budget, and then I go off and I know what I'm getting, right?
Well, and that is always a really good, if you just, because at the end of the day, whether it's an app or a software
paper,
or just piece of paper, keep track and keep track of what you plan to spend, and then inevitably what you did spend, because you'll always go over a little bit. You say, oh, that thing was perfect for so-and-so, and you go out and you buy it. Just keep track of that, because the more you know, the better. Preston Rutton has asked, how much for wrapping paper and other stuff like that? That's where secondhand stores can really come in.
Yeah, you know what? So my family, we have this kind of joke. We use the same gift bags every year. So we just reuse them. And it's like everyone every year wants to get the gift bag with the big puppy dog on it. And I don't know why it's just the puppy dog gift, right?
See, that's smart.
It's ridiculous, but it's fun because it's like we all wrap up the gift bags every year. I like gift bags. I like using reusable shopping bags. These are things that, cost a couple bucks, but they're usable afterwards. So there's not like a whole bunch of recycling afterwards, and there's not like a whole bunch of paper waste. So that kind of is a really fun way to wrap a gift as well. That's usable. My
wife and I will probably buy 85%, if not 90%, of what we get in terms of gifts this year, whether it's for the kids or for each other, online.
Yes.
Right? And the shift in the last 5 years is probably...
Why do you go online? Yeah.
Because it's easier.
Okay.
And because, and this is where I'm going with this, I get bombarded with emails and things and people saying, hey, try this and check this out. And then you go to the site and, oh, well, that's not good for me, but I should get one of those. And I'll just put it in the bag and I'll put it there later. And you go back and sure enough, it's there.
Right.
And you were emailing me about this morning. It takes 6 to 8 touches for you to spend. So is that... The retailer reaching out to you with an email blast or a newsletter or a sale, 8 of those, and I'm on the hook already?
Yeah. I was just reading about this the other day. So basically an app sends you a notification.
Yeah.
You get an email. Maybe you'll see a sign, a commercial, or you'll get a pop-up or a targeted ad on your web browser, right? Because you've been looking at it online.
It's crazy how
it hits the cookie, right? It sets the cookie. So it's really easy to overspend because all of a sudden you've seen this item, 6 to 8 times.
Coming back.
And it's like, okay, fine, I'll just get it, right? Now it's like $5 less because then they start adding like deals in it. It's a really sophisticated process they have. So if you're aware as a consumer that they're going to touch you 6 to 8 times to buy this product, then you can be steely about it. But if not, delete the app, unsubscribe to the email,
clear your browser
cookies,
clear your browser history. Anyways.
Just clean it all. Yeah, you don't want people to see that. Yeah. And you'll protect yourself that way.
For sure. And I mean, it's these little things, writing things down, clear your browser history, that sound tedious and sound like they're not a big deal. They add up, and these can end up making a big difference. Funny story, when I was a kid, I knew another kid my age, who their rule in the family was everybody, anytime there's a gift exchange, whether it's birthdays or Christmas, the gift had to be either made or found.
Okay.
You could go out into the woods and you could find a thing and that would be cool.
The woods.
Or you could make a thing, you could, or whatever. And I always thought that, in fact, I kind of want to reach out to him and see whether he does that now.
What are they building now? I'd like to know what they're building now.
He was just the kind of kid that probably his whole family still does that, and I think it's very cool. And I'm buying, not even secondhand stuff. But Camille Browders writes in on a similar bent and says, people who care about you don't want to see you go into debt, so don't buy more than you can afford to pay immediately without credit, and make gifts if possible. I used to go into debt yearly, flying from the Northwest Territories to Ontario during the holidays. I don't anymore, and they understand. Skype and a card, and it works. Other than, we talked a little bit about using your sort of rewards bonus to fly. Mm-hmm. What are the other tips about trying to get around the country, it's a big country, at Christmas without breaking the bank?
So, oh my goodness. So these are travel things. I've always been on the wrong end of the country where my family is. So my biggest budget for the holidays always been flight.
Right.
And, you know, there's apps that I've used like Skyscanner, or I subscribe to like WestJet or Air Canada to see when their deals are coming in. But the truth is, flying across the country is going to be expensive.
Yep.
And I made the mistake
at this
once.
time of year particular.
It's high season. And I've made the mistake once to fly Christmas Eve. And that was the worst because that was like the night the snowstorm hit Toronto. And everyone was being bumped from the flight. So the thing is, you can save money by, you know, choosing an off-peak hour during the holiday season, yes. But if travel and being home with your family is important, then put the money into it and spend it and make sure you're home. Like, that was like such a stressful thing for me.
I flew once on Christmas Day, and the place was abandoned. It was probably the easiest flight I've ever had.
Okay, well, there you go. Fly Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Peter says.
That's right. Put it on me. When it doesn't work, email me, tell me about it. I'm sure it'll be a disaster. But it was the one day that I walked in, there was nobody in the airport. The people were like, hey, come on in. They checked my bags away. It was
got
actually
a free drink.
It was pretty nice, yeah.
Good for you.
Speaking of sort of the time frame, trying to pin down what time frames work, Neely Bujar asks, what is the best time to shop? Is there a specific month when there are more deals at the stores?
Okay.
Earlier the better, probably.
Yeah, deals, like, I hate the word deal because we always think we're saving money when we're spending money, right? Yes. So it's like, yeah, right? Like, saving is not spending is not saving. So a deal is what you can afford to pay today, because if you've got it on your credit card, that 19% is going to erode any discount you think you had.
Yeah.
So, you know what? We had the Cyber Monday, we had the Black Friday, and those sales, so-called sales, go on for now weeks and months. And I've even seen Black Friday sales in July.
Right.
Yeah, and same with Boxing Day sales. So, you know what, this week there's going to be a lot of retailers out there trying to get your attention, trying to get you to spend more. Know what you want to buy, and I think that's the biggest trick. There are digital flyer apps out there. You can search on them. You can find the thing that you're looking for and compare the costs across retailers.
And it comes back to that. The earlier you make a list and you say to yourself, I really want to get my wife that, you know, whatever, that sweater, that piece of jewelry, that trip, whatever it may be.
Then watch it.
And then you think about it, and then it comes up in July or in September or October, and you see the price is down, just get it. And it's done, and it's off your list, and it's one less thing to stress about.
Well, and I mean,
December.
I walked into the store 2 weeks ago and just picked up $15 worth of stuff that costs $150. So my Christmas shopping, you know, for under the tree is essentially done. And, you know, and that's kind of the focus I have. I buy 80% used and 20% new. So that 20% new, you know, I'm just kind of watching the flyers. I'm watching, you know, the emails that come in. Because if you subscribe to these retailers, they're going to want to touch you and email you and tell you, right?
They most certainly are.
So sometimes it works out, you know.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know if it comes across on your screen on Facebook, but like these are, like she said, one of these is still in its plastic wrapper. These are all like in very good condition.
Yeah.
And secondhand stores, there are so many deals to be had there.
Consignment stores for kids. And this is, I mean, this is easier when your kids are young. When you've got teens.
And they want something in particular, and it's a
like
thing.
The iPods, the phones. I think my big, you know, advice for that is either use something that's already in the family. So offer the kid, you know, your my old previous phone. Because if that's the brand that they want, they're not willing to have like a lesser model that costs less, then they're going to be happy. So I mean, I was at the Apple store about a month ago, and this mom came in. She had 3 shattered iPhones on the table, and she was getting the prices to
fix all the screens.
And she was on her own phone with her 3 kids who had shattered their phones. And she was getting the kids to pay for the fix. So it turned out 2 of the kids could afford new screens. One of them had to go home with a shattered screen, right? So it's kind of like, make the kid prioritize if they're a teen and say, listen, if you want that new gadget, go to a refurbished site, go to the Apple's refurbished site, see if you can get it for 15% less. Get them on side and get them to explain why that model or that brand is important to them. And that way, you know, they're going to have buy-in, and hopefully it'll be more than just a passing fancy.
Smart stuff. Okay, Ken Wallen, I just lost this here, has more of a comment than a question.
Okay.
Credit cards can be good if used properly. Some give you 2 to 4% back on purchases as long as you have the money to pay the bill when you get home. You can make money doing this compared to using cash and debit. I read about these cashback cards. In fact, I now have one myself, and I don't know why I'm so skeptical, but I'm skeptical. Should I be?
Well, some of them have a yearly fee.
Yes.
So $100,
so you gotta
$150. Yeah, I have mine gets me groceries and it's about 1%, but it's still like, how much do you have to spend to get $20 worth of groceries, right?
An awful lot.
$2,000.
Yeah.
So then you look at, oh man, I spent $2,000 and I got $20 worth of free groceries. If you carry that balance, well, that like reward is eroded within a month.
Right.
So you really have to be careful and know what kind of consumer you are, and if you're not paying off the plastic, then
get rid of it.
Get rid of it. Yeah. Don't say that loyalty programs.
I mean, how many people do you know have 2 or 3 cards that they're paying a yearly fee on, and they're like, I know I should get rid of that, but it's a safety. It's crazy. Right?
Yeah, and it's hard because everyone is pitching plastic. So you go to Walmart, they offer
have
you
their
a
own
card.
card.
You go to the Bay, and these things have 29% interest on them, and they tease you, right? I'll give you 25% off. I'll give you $25, and it's the push.
The house always wins.
It's the push of the season to get you to get that card. So as a Canadian consumer, be aware of that, and see the plastic pitchmen as what they are, and don't let them peddle it to you. Say no.
Barbara Reeves has what is probably the most practical idea that I've seen all day, and yet the least romantic. It's very bah humbug, but it's very practical. Has a suggestion: spend $20 to $30 on each person and give cash in envelopes. More to your kids and less to grandchildren.
Oh, okay. I like that. But you know what? What I like even more is if you have kids, put the money in an registered education savings plan. I know, because you're going to get 20% from the government right then and there, right?
That's the gift that I think
that's the gift that keeps on giving. Education. We have a thing in my house. We have a 4-pack. My daughter knows she's going to get something she wants, needs, wears, and reads.
Wants, needs, wears, and reads.
So she has a want list, like a Santa list,
That's
right?
Good.
And that list prioritizes and changes. Sometimes it's a purple dolly, sometimes it's a stuffy, right? She's only 4.
No,
whatever.
3-year-olds.
So that's what she gets. Wears, sweater, or if she's in gymnastics, a gymnastics outfit.
Yeah, wants the
reads,
bodysuit.
Books.
Yeah,
got to give your kids some books. And needs. So maybe the grandparents can pitch in when it's like a needed item as well.
Right.
Like education, right? You've got to have it. So
well, I just convinced my mom, instead of giving us toys or whatever for the kids, to pay for my son's gymnastics lessons. It's going to work out great.
Experiences, right?
Yeah.
That's paying for experiences over stuff. And, the kid is going to love it, and you're going to love the little bit of a parent break, I'm sure.
Rose Francis, it took us 27 minutes to get here, and I apologize for this, but she has a great idea. Don't forget to donate also. Donate old Christmas trees, ornaments, etc. Donate food and new toys if you can. Absolutely.
New toys, always new toys.
Well, and I mean, I don't know what your house is like. I have 3 young kids. The amount of plastic junk I have in my house that we rotate through, and they're young, they go through stuff, and we get stuff from friends, but we pass that along, we donate it, we take it down to the drop-off place. Old clothes that those kids go through. They're absolutely, if you can afford, absolutely try to donate, because there are people. No matter how bad you've got it this Christmas season, there will be people who have it harder.
And the food banks are hit really hard this year.
Yeah. Well, the price of food has been off the charts. So.
And kids are using food banks as well. So.
Okay, we're going to wrap up fairly soon. I like your idea about the need, want, wears, and
reads.
Great.
4-pack. You're done.
The other, right? Well, and the other ones. Okay, so yes, we recognize there is a problem. $400 per Canadian, average overspent. So just try to keep it in mind. Before I wrap this up, Leanne Miles suggests we're writing letters to dad or stepdad. He doesn't want gifts, and we're going to share how special we think he is. Everybody writes a letter to dad. Dads are suckers for that. Don't buy them the tie that they'll never wear. Send them a nice letter.
That's a very lovey-dovey thing.
And it costs nothing.
It's very kumbaya. I'm into it, but you got to be a mushy family to do it.
Okay, so yes, we're
it.
Overspending. The refocus on experience over stuff was your first idea.
Talk to your family.
Just sit down and write everything down.
No competitive gifting. Like this is where that's where right. That's where we get into trouble. We got to one up so and so, the brother-in-law, the sister-in-law. Don't do it. Just I just walk into the room saying all my clothing is secondhand, and that kind of drops it right there. No one cares anymore, right? My kid gets secondhand gear. That's it.
And set a budget.
Set a budget.
Some people are going to break it. Don't get worked up about that. You'll always have the uncle or the brother who is just like, last minute, I'm just going to spend $50 over the limit. Don't get worked up about it. Yeah. Set a budget, stick to it. Get kids to make the wish list.
Yeah.
Those fours, that's a great idea.
Make them prioritize it. Make them pick the one. And it's so fun to watch them struggle with it. She still struggles.
I bet.
With Dolly. But you pick it and it's done.
Yeah. And then lastly, and this is kind of the major theme of everything that we've done on this, is watch those credit card bills. Make sure you have enough to pay it. Don't carry the interest, and you can keep yourself out of an awful lot of trouble. Because the last thing you want to do is start the new year with, a giant oversized credit card bill from the year before.
I feel like I'm failing when people's credit cards, go up. I'm like, we're at $4,000 now. I'm like, where are we going wrong? Listen, help yourself.
Right? Oh, it's so crazy. Listen, we're going to wrap this up here. Thanks to all of you. And again, this time we're going to take one of these questions, one of Carrie's responses, and put it on the actual show tonight, which is 7 p.m. Eastern Time on CBC News Network. And we're going to be talking about this again. So we're going to dig into sort of some of the specifics of this in the TV show. The mathy math, that's right.
The mathy math.
And listen, I can't say it enough. I really do enjoy these. I know you like them too. This chance to sort of interact with you and the audience and actually get these questions here. It's so much fun. So keep them coming. And as I say, even if you keep them in the comments after we're done, we keep an eye on them and we'll get back to you, we promise, and talk about them perhaps in another time. So thanks to you. Nice to see you. Thanks to all of you. And hope to see you on the show tonight, CBC News Network at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Have a good night.